Well, this is a matter of a policy as far as the government is concerned. Now, you're dealing with international affairs. It's not a resolution of a domestic problem in India. And therefore, when you deal with international affairs, you have to engage those countries. And in the process of engagement, you have to come out with the best possible deal that is possible for us. As far as Indian professionals are concerned, these are highly skilled IT professionals. Indian professionals don't fall in the category of illegal immigrants. They don't fall in the category of people who just shift for taxation reasons. These are highly skilled professionals, and they have contributed in a big way to the companies and the economies of the countries where they work. And we believe that it is in the larger interest of even those economies that they get the benefit of this skilled talent. At the end of the day, we must remember that a high level of protectionism need not necessarily help an economy. When India was a closed economy, relatively at very marginal rates. When we opened up, we are open to investment, we are open to a lot of economic activity, we've grown much faster. We've seen our own experience. That's the experience of most of the emerging market economies itself. And therefore, when we raise these arguments at an international front with our colleagues in all the countries that you've named, I'm sure that they'll bear it in mind while formulating their policy.
If we are in for a deglobalization era, how is India readying itself to prepare?
I don't think such a situation will really come. It's overstated. There is a tendency in some economies towards disintegration of the global economy itself. But it won't come. Effectively, what does it mean? It effectively means that you compel your own companies or your own citizens to buy goods which are costlier, to hire services which are costlier, and you end up making them globally non-competitive. And therefore, this necessarily doesn't help the companies or the businesses of those countries which will follow this pattern. At the end of the day, there is one fundamental principle about trade, that consumers are the final judge. And consumers like to buy goods which are cheaper, which are of good quality, and they like to hire services which are the most competitive in rates. And therefore, at the end of the day, it's the economic pressure of which will succeed. And we've seen that happening in the last 20 years.
In meetings with global investors, how are things looking for India?
Well, India stands out completely because India is one of the few economies in the world which is undertaking structural reforms. India is one of the few economies in the world which is growing at a high pace. It's never happened earlier in history that for 3 years in a row we are the fastest growing major economy in the world. And therefore, obviously, the investors will put their money where they think there is the best prospect of return, where there is larger investment taking place, where there is larger economic activity. India has a huge infrastructure program which is currently being implemented, and global investors look at India in a very positive way.
And what are the views on demonetization?
Well, I think demonetization at the end of the day marks an era where India's informal economy will start increasingly getting integrated with the formal one. It's a move towards elimination of the shadow economy. It's a move towards greater transparency as far as businesses are concerned. And I think more important than that, the fact that India's government had the courage to take such a decision and implement such a decision successfully, I think has just sent the right message globally and internationally.
Are they worried about reindustrialization of India?
Well, the GST certainly is a very major reform. It's in fact the mother of all reforms. And therefore, for a country to unanimously, with a larger consensus, participation of almost everyone in the political spectrum, center and state governments in this reform, I think has sent a very good message about India.
Banned non-performing assets, the big worry. How does the government plan to?
Well, it's a serious worry. And at the end of the day, it's those 20 to 30 major accounts which require to be resolved. And I'm sure the banks will be able to do it. We've been legislatively empowering them. We've been, in terms of policy, the RBI has been empowering them. And there are some other ideas that we have in mind. I'm sure the banks will be in due course able to resolve it.
What is the road ahead for implementing?
Well, I think without getting into the individual case, on a general principle, nobody can break the law in a country and then think that by moving across the geographical boundaries I will escape the law. The law will chase him, such a person. Now, whoever he is, it's a lesson for all those who borrow public finances. They are meant to be returned.
Are divestment targets still ambitious?
So last year we achieved unprecedented target of almost 47,000 crores.
Response to Pradhan Mantri's provide.
Well, we've had a series of schemes in the last 1.5 years. We had for foreign banks, then we had the scheme for the disclosure scheme, and then we've had this scheme. It's a part of a process by which we are asking people in possession of income which has escaped assessment to declare it by paying something higher. Some schemes are attractive for them, some schemes are not so attractive for them. There are countries which have been coming out with schemes which only you have to pay 2% tax and then make a disclosure. Such a scheme could be highly successful. Ours is a high rate taxation scheme because we believe that the honest taxpayer can't be discriminated against. And therefore, finally, when the figures are out, you will come to know.
Finally, I want to come back to the first question. Did you have talked with US officials on extending
With?
US officials?
Of course, I've flagged India's concern and I'm sure they'll bear it in mind.
What were the responses?
Well, they're in the process of formulating a policy and therefore giving them the input is the right thing that we've done.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.